welcome. Today we have a special guest, Mr. Mike Powell. I've known you for a long time, but it's funny, we've never really met in person very much.
No, too busy running our own companies.
I mean, I've probably known you for, oh my gosh, probably 12 years, all the way back in the beginning of the Alamo Home Source days. You and Mitch Steven, owner financing, we were just kind of running in the same circles, and here we are.
Probably competed for the same houses for years.
Probably, yeah. And then now we're kind of both in land too, which is just funny. I don't know if you did a lot of land back in the days or if you were just doing houses.
No, we've been doing land pretty heavy for about 8 years.
About 8 years?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got about 5 or 6 years on me, a jump on me.
Yeah.
I tripped into it just during COVID. Stupid. It was just dumb luck. And it kind of saved my ass because the market got crazy. You couldn't buy houses, and land saved me. But I still miss the days where you could buy a $50,000 house on the south side, spend 10 grand and owner finance it for 89.9, and sell the note the next day. Like, those were the good old days, but
right.
they don't exist. And I mean, are you well, let me back up before we just get off on a tangent. I guess tell everyone who you are, and I know who you are, but
so like you said, my name is Mike Powell. I've been running Moat Enterprises out of San Antonio for the last 12, 13 years. And we owner finance all kinds of stuff. We're kind of like Erik was. We create somewhere between 100 to 150 notes a year. We do land, subdivisions, a lot of houses. We still do a lot of houses. Put 6 up for sale yesterday. So we're still doing a lot of houses, and then we also have a lot of commercial. We do industrial, drop yards, truck parking, and we've got about 17 storage locations all over Central Texas. So we kind of do a little bit of everything, but our daily main gig is owner financing of anything that can be financed, really.
Let me I want to ask you a question, because I'm having, when it comes to owner financing houses, you play the game of sales price versus interest rate versus payment, right?
Correct.
Like that's the thing. If it's a really expensive house, your interest rate can't be very high because your payment's going to be too high. But if your interest rate's not high, then you're going to have to discount it to get the spread or get the interest rate where it needs to be for the investor or the note buyer, or even if you're going to leverage out with the bank, then you got to have a spread. So you play this game of these moving pieces. And what I've found is that with the house prices getting, if we sold a house back in the days over 100 grand, we were sweating bullets, and now it's like 149, 159, 169. But it's hard to get 10 to 12% interest when you start getting up in these higher prices. So what are y'all finding in owner financing? Give me some numbers on your houses, I guess.
So we max out. I don't really like to owner finance. We do some, but I don't like to owner finance over about 200, maybe 225.
Wow, you're going that high?
Yeah, and we're at 10% interest. We don't budge off that. We're on our land 11% interest. But there's people out there that can afford that $2,000 to $2,200 a month. I'd prefer to be in the 150 to 180 range, though. That's really the sweet spot of selling stuff fast.
Interesting.
I bought one on, you'll know this street. I bought one on Bob Bia a couple weeks ago. So we bought Bob Bia for 80. We put 20 into it, and we're putting it up at 189.
And you're getting 10% interest.
10%
interest. But you're not selling your notes, right? You're just sitting on them.
Yeah, that's the difference. We warehouse our notes. We don't have to sell them.
Are you leveraging out?
Yes. So what we'll do is we'll stack up somewhere between 40, 50 notes that we bought with private money. Then we take those to the bank, and they take out all of our private money, put it on a 15-year AM.
Yeah. Oh, you're doing 15s?
Yeah. What
are you getting? What's hurting me right now on that, Mike, is that I used to have a guidance line 2 million at 5.25. And so I would have a note 10.9 with about a $40,000 spread, take it to the bank. They'll loan 75 to 80% of that. which about breaks you even. Sometimes you can get a little bit of money out of it. And I would do a 10-year note fixed at 5.25, and there'd be about $100 a month spread. You're basically getting your money back, maybe making a little bit, and you're looking down the road, to make money. The problem is that it just my line just ran out. I just renewed it, and now they're at 8.5%.
Yeah.
And that's it. I have to have like a $60,000 spread just to discount it enough so that I can hold the note and not have to write a check every month.
So the average that we're into these houses is about 60% of what we get the note for.
Yeah.
So, and then our bank will only loan us up to 65% when we do that, when we recollateralize. So
Oh, wow.
we usually make $300 to $400 on a 15-year AM. We make $300 to $400 a month on each property.
But you're not pulling any cash out at,
No
if you're having
cash.
to discount it to 65, I mean, shit, you're breaking even, if not bringing money to the table after paying for appraisals and all that.
So they don't make us do appraisals.
Really?
So our bank does it as a commercial loan because they're lending on cash flow and they're lending on notes receivable. They're not lending on the actual assets. So they don't make us do appraisals. We close to the title company, but it's like almost, I think on 40 something notes is only like 11 grand in closing costs.
So, but they're collateralizing your note, right? They're putting it, they're making you, I mean, I've got two of them right here that I'm taking. I mean, this is the paperwork. It's a collateralization, where they collateralize the note. I'm getting, 75% of the value, and my closing costs are $925. I got a appraisal for $650, doc prep $175, blah, blah, blah.
But yours is based on a line of credit, right?
Well, I have a guidance line that I can then use my real estate notes that I create to they'll collateralize them and loan me money. And
Okay.
I basically sign over the collateral, the note, to the bank, and then they give me a loan.
So they're doing the same thing as I'm doing the same thing, but they look at my loan as notes receivable. So say you have Halliburton. Most people don't know, but Halliburton where Halliburton makes a lot of their money is selling chemicals, not actually doing the drilling, stuff like that. So they might sell a bunch of chemicals to Schlumberger, and they've got a $50 million note that Schlumberger owes them $50 million. Well, they'll take that collateral, or they'll take the note to the bank and say, we want to be lent back on all these chemicals that Schlumberger owes us for. They look at mine the same way. So it's not a true real estate note. They're not worried about, they do take the note as collateral, but they're not worried about values. They're doing it as a notes receivable, what's owed.
Yeah, but if the note receivable, if it stops paying, then they're going to be left with just the collateral.
Well, but it's the same thing as they look at it as the same thing as Schlumberger. If Schlumberger quits paying for those chemicals, they can't go get chemicals and say, give us our chemicals back.
Yeah,
already gone. So, we're
funny that,
but that's a relationship deal, right? That's not a common loan.
Yeah, I mean, I deal with the little bitty ass bank in Hondo,
Yeah.
And, like with the land, I was able to get, they would loan up to 80%. And so, as with land, there's bigger spreads. So I was able to, with the 5.25 line of credit interest, I was able to pull out 80% on my land and actually make money. And I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. Like, I can create a note with land, collateralize it, make a profit. It's still on a 10-year fix. The payments are still washing out, and I got the back 20 years. And then they went up to 8.5% interest. And I'm like, well, that doesn't work anymore.
Ask them, say, y'all went to 8.5. Can we go to 15? And then
They will go to 15, but most of my notes, my land notes, are 20 years. That only leaves a 5-year back in.
So how come you, just out of curiosity, why don't you bump those out to 30?
I may need to, but then, 30 years, the payment goes down. So now you're back to, if you do a 30-year at 10.9, and then you're leveraging 80% or 75, and you're going 15, it's all trying to get those. Like, I want them to either be a wash or make a little bit of money to where it pays for the taxes, because, you know, even
Yeah.
though your payment to the bank and their payment to you is a wash, the IRS still sees that there's, you know, principal pay down, which is taxable, right?
Right. So the reason I like the 30 is there's very little principal pay down in those first 7 years. I mean, almost next to nothing.
True. Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about your taxable there.
So on houses, I do 30. For land, I was doing 20. And the reason I was doing that is that the note buyers that I had didn't
Yeah.
want anything longer than 20.
Right.
But now that they're all hiding from me, I'll probably go back to doing 30-year 30-year notes on land at 10.9, and I don't budge. It could be a $400,000 tract of land. It's 10.9. I don't care. You don't like it, you know, land. I have a little, you know, there's less competition in the land. There's not too many guys out there just owner financing land.
No, yeah. It's a slower game. There's not many of us that can do it.
Yeah, it's a lot slower. I mean,
Um,
you got to sit on it. You know, it's slow. It's a lot of money, but it's really slow money.
the other thing that I did was mine's on a 15-year, mine's floating, but I got a cap at 9.5.
Mhm.
But and the reason I did that is I'm capped at 9.5. A lot of my private money is 8 to 10% anyway, so I'm paying the same more or less. But the reason I did the floating was once it starts trickling back down over the next couple of years, it'll go down with it, and I don't have to re up the loan and redo the loan, you know, and pay a bunch of extra closing costs and stuff. It'll just start trickling down with it.
Did they make you put a floor on it?
No.
So I just bought that 200 acres in Seguin. It was like $2.3 million. And when I got that loan, they made me do a float, and it was a monthly float, but it was like a 9 cap and a 6 floor. And I was like, man, come on, like, why you got to put a floor in there? Like,
Yeah.
you know, anyways, it's just a bank, right? You say yes, sir, and you take your money. I'll have to talk to them about that. That's a good idea. I was always nervous. I always wanted fixed rates. I was always nervous about the floating. But I mean, as long as you have a ceiling on it, you know, that may be the way to go, instead of, because they're like, hey, do you want to renew your line? I'm like, hell no. Like, I don't want to lock in an 8.5% interest for 2 years. Like, what if next year it's back down to like 7 or 6 and I'm stuck? So I may talk to them and say, you know, hey, let's keep this line open, but let's put it on a, you know, on a 6-month float or a 1-year float or something.
Yeah.
With the ceiling for sure.
Yeah, that's a big one for me. I'll borrow it, whatever, as long as I know what my ceiling is.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't know what your ceiling is, you can't plan on any of this stuff, because you can back into all the notes you have and see, will my ceiling support whatever these create?
Yeah. Interesting. So you're doing 15, 30s. Yeah, that doesn't scare me. If I had a 30-year, the numbers don't make sense at a 20-year, because only these a 5-year back in, and there's just not enough juice left at that point.
Yeah. And the other thing about those land notes, a lot of them are a lot bigger. They are harder to sell.
Yeah, because you're doing, so we kind of went on a tangent, but that was fun. Thank you for I like talking to other people. There's not a lot of guys that understand the leveraging of the notes and doing all that. So I really never have anyone to talk to about it to see if, you know, someone doing it differently. And we've just kind of done it like this for 12 years, 14 years.
Yeah.
But you're buying, you know, 100 acres or more, and your goal on your land is to, so I do bigger tracts. I do 10 acres or more, because I don't want to deal with all the platting. I don't want to deal with all the roads. I don't want to deal with all that bullshit. So it's easier, but it's harder, right? Because it's easier to chop it up and do it, but then it's harder because you have these $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 tracts that people aren't kicking down your door to buy. You, on the other hand, spend the time, the money, you develop it into 1-acre tracts, right?
Yeah, so I've done both. I did 10-acre tracts like you did for a long time, and I did well with it. And then I had to start getting far enough out of town, and drilling wells got really difficult to get any well drillers to come drill wells. Back when I was doing it, I was putting wells on all of them because how fast they would sell compared to somebody coming and giving me $30,000 down, plus they got a $25,000 well and all that kind of stuff. So I actually put wells on all mine.
That's smart.
The other thing that was cool was the well company took American Express, so I flew to Europe a couple of times just drilling wells.
Yeah, that's like $20,000 hits. I need 13 wells dug at $20,000. Like imagine writing that check to the well company,
Yeah,
$300,000.
yeah, and it's funny because Amex called me. We're like, "Hey, you're over your limit." I'm like, "You said it was unlimited."
Yeah,
They're like, "Yeah, but not like 250,000."
I know. I have one of those gold cards, and like whenever they're selling you on it, right? They're like, "This is an unlimited card," and I'm like, "So I can just go buy a Lambo?" Well, there are some limits. I'm like, "Well, don't be telling me it's unlimited." Get my
Yeah,
hope.
yeah. Don't tell a guy like us it's unlimited. So anyway, I was putting wells on them and all that stuff, and it was getting too difficult. Like well drillers were backed up 6 months to a year.
Yep.
I luckily I had a friend that had a well drilling company, so he'd break off and come do 20 wells for me in a week, and then head out, and I'd get him back 2 months later. But then he was having trouble buying an extra rig, and the rigs were 2 years out and stuff. So then I started doing a little bit smaller stuff, and it's worked out. So now we do a lot of 100-acre, real close to town. Everything's within about 30 minutes of downtown San Antonio. So south side, real close.
You're still finding land out there that you can buy, right?
Yeah, you can. Some of it's got issues. One of them had an oil issue. It took us about 6 months to work through that. Another one had a water issue, but we bought both those real cheap for about $6K an acre, which is
Really? That's
insane. Super cheap. We had it appraised. So I paid 680 grand for it 2 years ago. We had it appraised last month to get our loan, and it appraised at 2.2 million.
Wow.
So,
I just sell it, move on down the road.
right. Well, we're going to put about 3 million in. So we'll be totaling about 4 million, and sellouts about 9.5.
Oh yeah.
The cool thing is 10 acres are desirable, as you've seen, but like you said, you don't have 30 people wanting the same tract. 1 acre tracts, they sell fast. When you have a payment of about 700 a month, you can sell 5 a week pretty consistently.
But it took you like by the time you're ready to even sell a 1 acre tract, I've probably already sold out of 2 developments.
Correct.
So I wonder, looking at, I don't know, I guess it just depends. Like I just wouldn't want to deal with county roads, getting freaking water lines, running water lines,
So I
dealing
was
with
the
all
same. I was the
the
same way. Like the red tape stuff just killed me, right?
brutal.
And so what I learned to do is like I buy that piece of land and I just tell myself I'm not going to go back there for 2 years. And I put it in the engineer's hands and just let me know when it's ready and we can pull a bulldozer onto it. And once you get that first one going, once you have a dozer there, you should be platting the next one so that then after that, you don't have that lull, right? So we're selling one out right now. Our next one will be ready in October. That's 120 lots. And then March of next year, we have another 200 lots ready. So we've got them now to where it's one after another. We're never sitting waiting.
Interesting. Yeah. I know Michael Schomer is always telling me, you need to like that 200 acres. He's like, dude, it's set up perfectly for doing 1 acre tracts. There's a 10-inch water line at the street. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to mess with it. Like Guadalupe County is a pain in the ass. Like they're going to want me to do more than 1 acre tracts for a septic. Then Spring Hills, like they're complaining about not having enough water, even though they've got a 10-inch line. Like I would be sold out of this thing. And I've got like a $1.5 million back end just on 13 tracks doing 10 acres, 10 to 15 acre track, 10 to 20 acre tracks. Mm-hmm. I'm like, he's like, yeah, but you could double that. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm going to triple my headache,
Oh, for sure.
For
sure. And
I don't know. I guess I'll get there one day.
The other thing is it was super frustrating back when I didn't have a team in place, like anything, right? When you started Alamo Home Source, it's really frustrating finding the right acquisitions, the right salespeople, all that stuff to kind of get up and rolling to doing 100 houses a year. This is no different. I finally got some really good engineers. I went through several, they all suck. I finally got some really good engineers that do what they say they're going to do, stuff like that. That was a big issue, right? So now that I have all that in place, it truly is push button. I'm like, here you go. Let me know when we're ready to pull dozers onto it.
Yeah. Interesting.
And where you're at out there, I'm not kidding. Those 1 acre tracts will sell for 100 grand an acre.
Oh yeah. I had a 2 acre tract that was like when I bought this 200 acres, there was a 2-acre tract that was part of it. And I said, hey, separate that from the contract. And I'm gonna give you $1 for it. I think I gave him $1,000. And the reason I did that was, when I got the loan from the bank, as you sell the tracts, they want X amount of dollars, like a payoff, right? So like they'll say, hey, you paid $12,000 an acre. So for 10 acres, you're going to owe us this for that. And the way that they were wanting to write the contract up was like $120,000 for that 2-acre tract. And I was like, no, just put it all over and let the 198 acres or whatever it was eat up, eat that cost. I want this one free and clear. And the reason I did that was I knew I would sell that one first for about 120,000. And if you look at interest on a, 1 point, I think after down payment, it was like 1.3 or $1.4 million. It's like 12 grand a month at 8.5%. And so I was like, well, hey, if I can sell this little 2-acre tract, I'll sell it quick, because there's just, like you said, it's a hot commodity. 1, 2-acre, 3-acre tracts. I mean, they sell like hotcakes, especially if you can owner finance them.
Yeah.
Basically, if I sell that, I know I've got 1 year of interest payments paid for out the gate. I don't have to stress over it.
Yeah.
And that's the very first lot that sold. Gone.
And that gives you, that breathing room is huge.
Oh, massive. I was like, I'm good. I got a year.
Yeah. Yeah. We do a lot of the same thing. It's like, what can we sell off first?
Yeah. And you got to be creative. And, like I said, most people would have just thrown all that whole thing into just one deal. And luckily I caught it and separated it, and they allowed me to separate it. So whenever y'all are doing deals, I mean, try to think outside the box. And if you can somehow, have rob from Peter to pay Paul, or, that's probably not a good analogy, but if you can, break something off, like you'll see a lot of guys, they'll go and buy a bunch of land and then they'll break off the frontage for like commercial development, right?
Yeah. And we do a lot of that. We've got a 100-acre piece off Jet Road, and 20 acres is commercial development on 1604.
Break that down, sell it by the square foot.
Yeah. Another one we did is I bought 21 acres on Somerset and 410. It's zoned industrial. We bought it for 1.5, and then 2 weeks later we have a contract on the corner 2 acres for 1.4. So we'll only be 100 grand in the other 18 acres.
So those are good ones, right? Why can't we find those every month?
I know. I'm like, how do you do this 10 times and I'm done?
Man. All right. So let's so you're into warehouses too, right?
Yes, I love warehouses. I love warehouses. There are no toilets, no, triple net. You take care of everything. Just make sure I get mine every month.
I have one in McQueenie. I'm building my second one, and I'm a little nervous right now because I haven't had anyone hit me up to rent them. My last one was rented before it was even built, so the market's got me a little nervous. But once they're rented, there's not a lot of high turnover. There's not a lot to it. It's freaking concrete and metal. It's just freaking concrete and metal, and it's probably the easiest. I won't even look at a residential rental property anymore. I'm sure you agree.
Oh yeah, no, I'm allergic to those.
Yeah.
Yeah, residential rental properties. There's guys that are really good at it. I will never take anything. There's ways to make money at it. I don't have the tolerance for it. Once you've done owner financing and done commercial rentals, you'll never.
Done.
Yeah.
I agree. Like I have a little house in Charlotte that's just been sitting, and we can't sell it. And Susie, she's like, well, I get a lot of rental calls. I'm like, nope. I will wait to owner finance it before I put a renter in there.
Yes, exactly. At least you get 5 or 10 grand from them, right?
Exactly.
What do you how hard is it for you to build your metal buildings right now? It's been hard for me to get people to work on them.
Man, I've got all the guys, I've got the concrete guy. I mean, hell, my electrician rents another warehouse from me. So he's a buddy of mine. So he runs over there. A good friend of mine, Hayden King, he owns H&K Builders. They do the erection. And then my other buddy, Scott Carley, does the garage doors. I'm getting gravel. I got a buddy of mine that owns a big 18-wheeler. So he does all my gravel and stuff for the parking lot. And then, so I buy my buildings from Impact Metal Buildings over in Shirts.
Oh yeah, I know the owner real well.
Yeah. So I go to I go to Lewis, that's who does all my metal buildings. And I say, hey, Lewis, this is what I want to do. He spits it out as a bolt up. I then take that, go to my concrete guys, say, hey, build this, put the pads in, and then I get with Peyton. Like right now, he's doing all the erection. He comes and puts them all up. And I mean, it's actually, it's easy. Like I don't really, there's not a whole lot, knock on wood. There's not a whole lot that can go wrong.
The concrete takes longer than the building.
The what?
The concrete takes longer than the building.
Oh yeah, it's insane how fast they can put up 15,000 square foot of metal building.
Yeah,
couple weeks.
Yeah, it's
got the right crews. But I got a guy. I could give you Peyton's number, and I can give you Noah's number. Like that's all they do is put up metal buildings.
Yeah, please send it over.
Well, here I'll just put it on the group for everybody. Hang on, let me take a 2-second break and jump in my phone.
So you order the building from Impact,
Yep.
and you do bolt up. So we had talked about the tax advantages of that. Did you run that by your accountant?
I did, and they said absolutely. They did say that there was a little crap. Hang on, everyone in meeting. They did put an asterisk by it, but it wasn't anything. It was just the way I worded it to them. They reworded it back to me differently.
Okay.
But yeah, so this one that I'm doing right now, the build cost is 700,000. I've got like 300 or 400, 350, 360 in the land, and there's like another mobile home on it and stuff. So I'm into it for like $1 million. And they're thinking that the metal building part, the 700, that we can accelerate the depreciation for this entire year.
Yeah.
And that's fun. If I can do that, I'm gonna owe you some steak dinners.
Come on, man. Yeah, and I mean that's why it's cool that you do this for your agents, because you learn all that stuff talking to other investors. I mean, I was talking to a storage guy at a conference, and that's how we found out about that little loophole.
Yeah, I mean, a lot. Like this is why I just say, like you asked, like, is there gonna no? We're just gonna talk. Like there's no agenda. We're gonna talk, and every time I have someone on here, I end up leaving learning something. And I you think you know a lot until someone like you says, you can depreciate. I'm like, whoa, hang on. Explain it.
You just saved me 300 grand this year. Hold on.
Yeah. That was well worth the chatting in the front of your office the other day. And that just that one conversation could potentially save over $300,000 this year in taxes.
No, so I mean, you did how 15,000 square feet out there this year? Or?
Let's see, 2,000. There's two 2,000s. That's 4, and there's two 4,800s. Let's just call it 5, 10. So about 14,000 square foot.
You're about 700 into the buildings and the labor.
Mm-hmm. That's 700 was to do some stuff on the property, to do the driveways, do the fencing, do the gates, the cameras, the electric, finish out an apartment. And then there are 2 of the buildings have offices. So that was office construction. I think I went a little high, probably about 600, but I wanted to get some money back because I paid cash for the initial. So I wanted to get some of that 400 back in my account to go play.
Yeah. So you're about $50 a square foot on the building.
Yeah, they've actually gotten a little expensive. So my concrete is usually $10 a square foot ish. The erection is 5 to 6 a square foot. Electrical 4 to 5. Garage doors are what just got insane. Like they're almost $35,000 to $4,000 a garage door now.
No, I used to get they were $2,000 like 2 years ago.
Yeah, no, for those 16 garage doors, it was I talked them down. It's almost 50 grand.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
The buildings used to be about $14 a square foot, and they've actually gone up. I did a small one, just a standalone, and I paid $23 a square foot. This bigger one, I think I got it down. I think the metal building cost was like 245,000, somewhere in there.
Okay.
So, I mean, what is that? 245 divided by 245,000 divided by, call it 14,000 square foot. So 17 and a half dollars a square foot. So
That's
it's still higher than, what it used to be, but
for both together though. That's pretty good.
yeah, it's not bad.
Wow. Okay. And you just put them on Facebook and all that kind of stuff, and they rent, huh?
Yeah, my other ones did. I would just slap but these I've made about 7 posts so far. Now mine are different because I don't allow, it's not a storefront, like it's gated, it's more secure. It's for like the contractors that want to put their stuff in there and not worry about. So I've had a guy that wanted to do a mechanic shop. I'm like, no, this ain't it. I had a guy that did like woodworking, but he needed clients to come in and look. I'm like, no, it's not going to work. I had a guy that wanted to do like a paint and body shop. I'm like, this ain't the right place.
Yeah.
So it's different. So I don't know. I may have to get into like marketplace, and then worst case scenario, list them on the MLS, but then you get real,
I wonder if you've got enough for that location, right? Because those are all out in the McQueenie.
that's my other concern is, my other one right down the road is doing fantastic, but did I already absorb the need in that area? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 10 minutes from I-10 and it's 15 minutes from 35. So it's a fantastic location.
That is, I would think you'd pull, because like that same building in New Braunfels is 2 to 3 times as much per month.
Absolutely. I'm 85 cents a square foot. I mean, even in McQueenie, there's some that are going for, and I'm 85 cents a square foot, all bills paid.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
that's electric, everything.
Everything.
Oh, that's a deal.
That's a hell of a deal. The guy down the street's $1.06 a square foot triple net.
Oh, wow. So he's really technically probably $2.50 a square foot.
Yeah. So I think I come out to like, what is it, $10.20 a square foot per year.
Yeah, he's probably 20.
Yeah.
Wow. But you could do all that because you own that land outright, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I've got 7.5 acres behind Texas Ski Ranch that I want to do like a 20,000 square foot one, maybe another basketball gym. I think if I decide to do that, I'm going to do more of a triple net, phase 3 power, do it a little more traditional rather than, Billy Bob's storage units over here in McQueenie.
So I've got one close out there. It's just 5 acres. It's a drop yard, and we just signed a lease for $3,200 an acre a month. So 16,000 triple net. It does have an office. It's got a 2,500 square foot house on it that's now an office building, but that's it. Raw land in that office building for almost 16K a month, triple net. So I net that 16K a month.
And where's that at?
It's on.
It's in New Braunfels?
No, it's the New Braunfels address, but it's closer to Shirts. But it's what is that? FM. What do you exit? You know where that old bar? There's that flea market, then there's like an old bar next to it on 35.
Yeah.
You exit right there and take a left going towards the quarry. It's right there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if I could do that on that 7.5 acres, because it's just sitting there dead right now. I wonder if someone would. I wouldn't even know how to find that guy though. Like, hey, I got 7.5 acres here. Do you want to go? Like, there's nothing there. There's no electric. There's no water. There's no nothing. But it's
what you'd want to do is
start off Watson in 35.
Yeah, no, you'll do really well on it. You'll probably make 20,000 a month on a triple net.
Just freaking land.
Yeah. No, that you'd probably have to put like a 5,000 square foot warehouse on it.
Okay.
Yeah. But even then, I mean, if that was my piece, I would wipe it and I'd put base on it and I'd fence it, have the electric gate ready and all that. And then I'd say, I'd put it out on with the commercial brokers. And I'd say, bring me an offer and I'll build a metal building on it. I can have it ready in 60 days.
And just do one building on this. Yeah, because I always want to do like more, but I think, you see those ones off I-10 where it's like one building on like 2 or 3 acres. And those things rent like hotcakes because these people that have 20 vehicles they need to park.
Yeah, I mean, so mine is 5 acres and a 3,500 square foot warehouse. I got this is the one down south, and I'm gonna get 3,000 an acre for it. It cost me about 350,000 to get it ready.
Hmm.
So the return on it's like nuts.
Wow.
Yeah. So I like those couple acres. There's a desperate need from. There's very little stuff zoned to be able to have drop yards and stuff. So
Yeah, I'm in the county over there off Watson.
oh yeah, you'll kill it then.
I mean, you know where Texas Ski Ranch is, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know
that's
exactly where the
Watson. I'm
property is.
about a mile and a half down Watson.
Okay. Yeah, I would look into it, man. I mean, you're right there in the mix.
Yeah, it'd be a lot easier just to throw up a 5,000 square foot building versus 20,000 with concrete driveways and all that bullshit. I mean, I would just base the whole thing and put a damn 5,000 square foot building on it and move on
You're
down the
into it.
road.
You're into it 350 grand and you're done.
Yeah, I like that because my other one was like 2 million.
Yeah, no. I like doing those. And the other thing is you're just land banking them. Someday that land's gonna be worth way more.
Oh, dude, yeah, they're building subdivisions all around that land.
Yeah. So at some point that thing's worth a fortune.
Hmm. You
And
know,
mine's
I paid $45,000 for that property.
I know. So that's what I'm saying. Even with your land cost, you're probably only in 350.
Yeah. That was whenever I bought during COVID when I was buying up all these land deals and funny story is it was actually part of my wife's family. Didn't know this until later. It got like through some sort of, someone died and it got split up. So there's 14 acres. And whenever it got all willed out, it got split into two 7.5 acre tracts. So her in-laws actually own 7.5 acres right next door
Oh wow.
that I've been trying to buy for the last 2 years and they won't sell it to me.
They probably just won't sell it for 40.
Well, they don't even go, like, there was, when I bought the property, you couldn't even see it. Like, I just drove down the road, slowed down, like there was a big dip, you couldn't get on the property. I looked at it from an aerial map, like just getting a culvert and a driveway to get on the property to start clearing it was like an act of God. And then I spent like a year, well, that was whenever I had all my equipment and I was in there cleaning it all up. It's a beautiful property. It actually sits on a conservation lake.
Yeah.
So I was thinking like RV, an RV park or something like that. But
So I've done a lot of that stuff with our storages and these truck yards and all that. And I started doing these larger warehouses with acreage because then I just don't have management. I've gotten to the point where we've got 14 employees. I'm done having management stuff,
yeah, I agree.
RV parks sound like fun. They're gonna make a lot of money, but I don't want to be in $2 million on 7 acres and then have to manage it on top.
Yeah, I like your idea. I have the plans. They're literally right there for the 20,000 square foot of warehouses, and I'm just like, I'm exhausted. Like, I don't want to deal with all that. But I mean, slapping in base like that, I already got the guy for that. That's easy. And then putting up a 5,000 square foot building, that's a freaking, do that shit in my sleep. Like, there's nothing to that.
Yeah.
Would you put like an office, like a 5,000 square foot with like an office presence?
Yeah, a lot of times they'll ask me for like a 5,000 square foot building and 500 feet of its office. There's like 4 offices in there or something. Yeah, and that's why I don't want to build them beforehand. I want them to kind of want to know what they need, but
Okay. So
it's real hard to get a commercial agent to come in, look at it, and say, yeah, these people want it unless it's based, fenced, and then hey, we can have your building ready in 60 days. Tell us what you want.
Yeah.
Because usually when they're looking, they're like, we got to move into something in the next 60 days.
Yeah. Yeah. The lead time on the bolt up buildings is a little bit longer. It's about 30 days to get the engineering and about 30 to 60. It's about 90 days to get the building on site and then another 30 days to put it up. So it's almost, 4 to 5 months.
We were talking about getting engineering plans for like 4 of them. So that part's already done. Yeah, as soon as they sign the lease, we order the building, have it a little bit faster.
Interesting.
And I think those lead times will shorten because less people are going to be doing it.
Yeah, especially with what stuff costs. So yeah, I think I'm gonna finish up this one in McQueen.
Well, hold on. Oh, sorry. I got a question, Eric. Sorry, I didn't know if
Yeah, no, you're good. We've just been rattling away. Go for it.
Well, no, I'm curious as y'all's opinion. Eric, I know I told you about it, but I've got 1.3 acres down in Floresville that I can't figure out what to do with, that we own outright. It's right off the main drag. And, listening to what y'all are saying about putting these in kind of a commercial leasing situation, especially a land lease, I love that idea. There was 4 mobile homes on it. We trashed all those. There's like an old barn that we can trash or not. I was kind of leaving it there. My first thought was to actually put a food truck park on there. Because I've got the guy that did the Schultz Nursery, you know what I'm talking about, in Marion.
Yeah.
He's a buddy of mine, and he's like, "Oh yeah," he goes, "It was great." He goes, "I built it up. As soon as it started making money, I turned around and sold it." And so I was thinking that
I got a buddy of mine,
not-
Don McFadden, that just built a badass food truck place down in the south side of San Antonio. But it's a management
the
thing.
one in Elmendorf.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
So
we drive by it.
a buddy of mine
I'm
owns
just-
the place up in off of what is it called? The District. Have y'all seen the District online or anything? It's neat. It's a food park, small offices, and a big bar area.
Oh, on 46,
On
District 46 or whatever.
friend of mine owns that.
Yeah.
He
We actually
said
went and checked it out the
truck
other
people
day.
are a nightmare.
What do you say?
Are they?
He said out of everything he does out there, the food truck people are the hardest to deal with. He said they don't show up when they say they're going to. They don't follow through on their contracts. He actually wound up starting 3 food trucks so that they'd actually have them there and open, because half the time they weren't open. Like, there's a reason they own a food truck and not a restaurant, right?
Yeah, they're gypsies.
They're not the best business people. So he said we're an absolute nightmare to work with.
So, I mean, do you think something like that, what y'all were just saying, like if I were to put something on it, fill it, wouldn't, because it is, I mean, I could probably throw a rock and hit HEB, but I'm one block.
I think, Colin, honestly, it's probably a horrible idea. I think you should sell it to Mike and I. What do you think, Mike? Like 20 grand, take it off his hands, 30 grand?
I mean, I'm in for 75.
Okay.
We'll give him a bump. No, I mean, honestly, on that one, Colin, I wouldn't do it on that one. A lot of the land that I do that stuff on is not like super ready to develop. If you're that close to HEB in Forestville, then that's a pretty premier piece. I would probably just sell that one.
Well, I threw it in the market. I threw it up, and I priced it high, and I've gotten 0 sniffs.
What'd you put it at?
Like 240. Because it's already got curbs cut. It's got power, electric, sewer. It's got all of that stuff already onto it, and it's been cleaned off.
But are you on LoopNet? Are you on Crixie?
No,
I'm
not on all that stuff right now. Just the MLS.
Hillary, the land I have is in Seguin, and then I have some in Florida, some in
yeah, that'll work. I mean, really just send me whatever you do have, because we have a buyer who's actively looking.
Okay.
If I was you, Colin, you're gonna kill it, but if you hire a commercial broker.
You think so?
Yes, because you're gonna, like, an acre and a half is perfect for a fast food place. It doesn't look like it, but that's about what they need.
Yeah.
And the commercial brokers have those relationships. It's not something we can put on and deal with in the same way. You're probably, they're going to want 6 months due diligence, all kinds of different stuff. So
Right.
I would find a really good commercial broker and that knows that area and is working with people to bring them into Floresville, and I'd list it with them.
Yeah, I sold
Okay.
3 acres to Dollar General over here in Seguin, and they're not looking on the MLS. Like I tracked the guy down, and that's all he does is drive around, and he has these commercial broker guys that are looking for land for him. It's a different world with those guys.
And I could be wrong, but I think you might even be a little bit cheap if you're on the main drag that close to HEB. You might be a little bit cheap.
That's okay.
Dollar General just paid us $10 a square foot for an acre and a half in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it might be a little bit cheap.
Yeah. Okay.
I still think I'm good with 75, and just take it off your.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're generous. I paid a little bit more than that. Uh,
You know, hey,
but
they're not
thank
all
you.
winners, Colin. You know, sometimes you just gotta, you gotta cut your
You,
losses. And
you know what? You sound a lot like the other Mike we know. Yeah,
Uh,
take that shot in the gut.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Remember when he tried to do that to me on
Call Mike.
Luis when he wouldn't?
Colin, call Mike Reyna. He's a buddy of
Okay,
mine.
send it to me. Is he a commercial broker?
Yeah, he owns Ostex or something. Um, TC Austin. Mike at tcaustin.com.
Mike.
He may be able to help you.
Well, I was thinking about calling
No, he's a
the
rookie.
trader.
No, you want someone that's been in the game that has these connections.
Yeah.
Mike's
Like-
been in the commercial game. He owns his own brokerage. He's been doing it for 40 years.
Is he down in that area?
He's over in Alamo Heights.
Okay. If not him, I would try to get somebody that really works that area. Mostly because, they're going to know that location right off the bat. And I don't know
So-
if Florida's big enough that they have their own commercial guys.
They probably do, because I've been meeting with the economic director out there, the guy who's he's trying to get me to build like a strip center thing, and I was like, I don't know, I'm in the middle of refinancing like a $1.5 million package, so my banking's all jacked up, and I got to wait for that to finish before I can go to banks and figure out if I can borrow another $2 million.
Man, there's not a lot of room on those strip centers right now. Your build cost is so high, it's nuts. I've got 12 acres right looking at it, and the build cost was just absurd for what the price per square foot rent was.
That makes me feel so much better, because I was kind of looking at it too, and I was like, this just doesn't make any sense. And especially trying to get people out to Floresville to do it. I was like, everything was going to go up.
All these funds and all these REITs and everything that are pushed so hard for so long at 4 and 5 caps have just destroyed that market. It's really hard for a small guy like us to compete in that market.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. All right, cool. Thank you. I'll call Mike, and then I'll see if I can find somebody else down there. What I'm thinking is I'm going to call the economic guy and find out which brokers are doing all the deals out there.
Yeah, I mean, because they're going to know right off the bat the tract. They're going to know that, hey, we've had Taco Bell looking around here, we've had Chick-fil-A looking around here, stuff like that. They're going to know right off the bat and know who to call. Even if they're calling somebody in San Antonio, they're going to be your better boots on the ground in Floresville, I think. What do you think, Erik?
Yeah, no, if there is a commercial broker over there, absolutely. I think that's smart. I agree. I don't know if there's any commercial guys in Floresville, that are actually based in Floresville. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Well, we're right at the 1 hour mark, so let's open it up for questions. We kind of went on a tangent, but that was a lot of good information that was spit around. Hopefully y'all were able to keep up with some of our backroom lingo and caps and ceilings and floors and all that fun stuff. But now's the time to ask questions if you got any, because we try to make this stop at 10.
I did have a question for Mike at the beginning. You mentioned you do some like truck parking and things like that. Where do you have those locations at?
I've got one up in Shirts that I was telling Erik about, and then I've got one down on the south side off 35 and 410.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. When I was working in the equipment business, we had some guys building a lot of those around San Antonio, and they're making quite a bit of money on those, I heard, supposedly.
That was the best deal I've ever done. I got them to owner finance me that land for 6%, 25 years fixed, and it cranks out about 40 grand a month. So that's a good deal. I actually am putting it under contract this week to sell it to a big national company.
Is it hard to find customers or clients or whatever to park their trucks and stuff there?
So that one I have 35 frontage, which you're going to pay a lot of money for. So I have a zero marketing budget on that one, and it stays about 95% occupied. So that one does really, really well. The one on Shirts has been a lot harder. That's why we're going to release. That's why we're releasing out the whole thing to somebody else, because it has been harder to keep that one full. Yeah,
I'm sure it's better when you're closer to a big highway like that.
Yeah, and you really got to have, if you're going to do a business like that, like we have, 16 or 17 storage facilities, and we've got those separate. if you're going to do a business like that, you can't do one or two of them because you got to have a severe marketing budget. And when you look at, say even like the billboard in front of my place was $3,500 a month. I'm like, well, that's 35 trucks I got to park in there just to pay marketing. You better have more than one location when you're having to hemorrhage $3,000 to $10,000 a month in marketing.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do it, you better have a plan to do several.
Yeah, multiple of them.
Yeah, because the other thing is you can't really afford to SEO anything anymore unless you have several places paying for it.
Yeah, I'm sure it's the same with storage. My uncle's got a storage facility that he just had to sell because it was his only one, and it wasn't really making the money back on the property.
Yeah, and the problem is you got public storage and all these guys that all these national guys, they all sit on page one of Google. You can't even get onto page one without paying $4,000 or $5,000 a month.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Anyone else? No? Mr. Mike, that was
Thanks.
fun.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it.
That was fun. I got some good stuff out of it. I think you saved me a 20,000 square foot warehouse headache over there in New Braunfels. I think
when I'm heading out there, I'll give you a holler. We'll go take a look at it.
Yeah, it's a really cool property. It's got some topography issues, not issues, but it just kind of sits like that, so
Yeah.
one side's high, one side's low. So I got to kind of flatten it out a little bit, but I think it works perfect for that. It's long and skinny, so you could put the building up front, they could drive around, and all your parking is in the back. So you could actually gate the back side of the building. So the front's accessible to, front people and the back's private. But
Yeah.
I may mess with that next year. I don't think I want to do any more this year. I'm tired.
Same here, man. I'm already burnt out this year.
I'm tired. Oh, we're gonna end the. What's up?
When you don't pay anything for it, you can afford to wait a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I could probably sell it for like 400 grand right now, but it's like, I mean, I don't owe anything on it. My taxes aren't crazy high on it.
I think it'll be super good cash flow.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those ones where I'm like, oh, I'm glad I didn't sell it. Because I actually reached out to a buddy of mine and he said, man, I might have someone that would buy it. He does RV parks. And I told him, luckily I was like 550, just some stupid number. And he's like, if you can get in the fours, I think we can do it. And I talked to my wife and she was like, that would be dumb. Just hold it. I'm like, well, you're the voice of reason this time, because I was close to just selling it. Well, I mean, when you start buying these big tracts of land, it's very cash intensive. So, I mean, I have 3 of them going right now, and I mean, it'll eat up $1 million like that.
Well, my property taxes on the stuff that I haven't sold is, 180 grand a year.
Oh, dude, property taxes are nuts. That's a whole nother freaking conversation. They went up again this year. They doubled on a lot of my properties. And I'm like, shouldn't y'all be going the other way this year because of the market and everything? Like, y'all shouldn't still be doing 116% increase.
Yeah. Are you fighting everything?
Oh, dude, look, like literally this is all property taxes. These are all individual deals that I have to go and fight.
Do you pay somebody to do it?
Man, I usually do it myself. I usually just pull comps, go in there and argue with it. On my house last year, they basically told me to go fly a kite. So I said, fine, we're going to go to the board then. At that point, I did hire someone.
I got this guy I love for my commercial stuff. I'm going to send it to you.
Yeah, please do.
Because I just give him all my commercial stuff. It's not worth it for him to do. But man, as soon as he walks in the county, he's like, oh God, not this guy. That guy. Yeah. So he's usually pretty darn good about getting them raked over the coals.
Eric, forward that to me. I like those kind of people.
Yeah.
When you get that number.
Yeah. He just takes a percentage of the savings, right?
Correct. No payment up front, percentage of savings. So
cool. All right. I got to keep moving. We have our monthly mixer tonight at Chicken and Pickle. So those that are still on this call, we will see y'all then. Mike, I appreciate you, brother. That was good stuff.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and I'll give you a holler.
All right, cool. I'm going to end the recording and sign off.